Okay, so here we go, back at it. So I made a bit of a mistake. Well, actually what I did was I relearned a lesson I learned long ago, which was first time I ever tore a motorcycle apart back in the 1980s. I lost track of a couple of different sized bolts. So after that, I got in the habit of making a little diagram of whatever I was taking apart and marking down where each bolt, according to size or type, went back in. I didn't do that this time. I just took them apart. But I did talk about it, and I went back and had a look at my part 19 where I was taking this inner case cover off. And I did mention which bolts were which. And the last video there, I didn't see any point in leaving the video run while I figured that out. So I did figure it out anyway. I mean, obviously this one, the flat one, goes here because this is going to be behind the plates. So there's two bolts behind the plates. There's this one and this one. These two up here are the shorter bolts, and these two down here are the longer bolts. So now that we've got that squared away, I'm ready to start putting these guys back together. At least I thought I was ready, and there it is. There's my screwdriver. So the other thing I did, I think I talked about, but anyway, I put the gasket in. Some of the manuals talk about putting some sealant on those, or the actual workshop manual calls it shellac. But I didn't put any sealant on there. I just used the green gasket, and you know, the surfaces were nicely cleaned by me. There was nothing left on them. They looked nice and flat. There were no gouges. So I'm just going to go with the gasket. It's going to be gear oil in there, and if it leaks out and it's a problem, then I'll just take it all. I'll take this inner cover off again, and I will clean it up again and put on some sealant, and that should take care of it. But I think the gasket will be all right. I'm not going to bother. And the reason I'm not bothering is because if I do need to take this off for whatever reason, then I'm not worrying about the sealant pulling on the gasket. I've got the one good gasket. I did make a photocopy of it. I made photocopies of all the gaskets I make, or sorry, all the gaskets I use, so that if I have to in the future, I can use the photocopies to cut out a new gasket. And I've done that in the past, and it works quite well. So I just get in the habit of, I've got a plastic sleeve I've got all my gaskets in, as well as another plastic sleeve that I put photocopies of those gaskets in, so if I ever need to make them, I can make them. Alright, so let's carry on with this. So we're going to tighten up the case. Just kind of go across here in a cross pattern as much as you can with this case. Go up here. I think it matters a whole great deal. Over here. I think I might move the light source a little bit. I can see that my arm is kind of blocking a lot of the light. Just going around tightening these guys up by hand. I'm not going to bother using the driver to tighten them up even more than that. I think just tighten them in by hand and feeling them should be more than enough. There we go. As long as there's no... And I got my gloves on, so I got a good grip on the screwdriver. I do hate flat screwdrivers though, but it is what it is. That's what these fasteners are. Alright, now the next one is to put on this one for the adjuster. There's a washer and a lock nut. Now when I when I took that off, that slot was kind of at a 45-degree angle this way. So we'll kind of try to set it up there. Get the washer and the nut for that. What I'm going to do is I am going to move the light source just to be a little better, because the camera's to the left of the box and I'm working over here on the right, so maybe the light source should be behind the camera. So bear with me. I'm going to move the light source over here. There we go. How's that? How's that look? That better? I think so. At least now my arm won't be passing in front of the light source, making a shadow. Okay, now if I recall, this was a Whitworth fastener. So this is a 1/4 inch Whitworth fastener. So I'm just gonna put the box end on first, and then just kind of put the screwdriver in just to hold it. That's good. Doesn't need to be reefed on. It's not gonna come off. All right. Now, before I forget it, one thing I want to do is I want to put on the Cir-clip on the shift shaft that comes over from the left side of the bike here. So now there's a little slot there for the Cir-clip. Ay, what a devil. Let's see. There we go. Now I'm just gonna get my face down in here and just make sure that's properly seated. I don't want that coming loose. But yeah, that looks good. Looks like we're good. I'm going to go over on the other side just to make sure that's over. Just wanted to go over and push on the other side of the shaft to make sure that it was over as much as it can be. Yeah, see, that wasn't on there. That was not in there. Well, let's see. Need a brighter light down in there. looks like that's in there now. Just out a little bit, but I am going to go over to the other side and just double. Just make sure that I got that over as far as I can. There's certainly no slop anymore now that I put the pinch bolt back in on the other side that I found missing. And I tightened up the linkage. By putting in the little larger cotter pins behind the washers, which made a big difference, took up a lot of the slack that was present. Get my face down in here again. Yeah. Yeah, it's down in there. Where is my puncher? Here it is. Everybody should have an old screwdriver that they don't use as a screwdriver anymore, just for doing this kind of rough work with.